Hello, everybody. This is Lori from Real Cinema Therapy. Today I'm going to review episode 1 of Andrew Lincoln's new show, Coldwater. Right now, Coldwater is being shown only in the UK. I don't know when it's coming to the US, but I was lucky to be able to have seen it. There are 6 episodes in this first season. I don't know if there will be a second season, but I think there might be because it does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger. I read something that they are considering another season, so we should find out soon enough. This show is pretty interesting. It has a really good cast. Andrew Lincoln plays this guy named John. He's married to Fiona. Fiona is played by Games of Thrones actress Indira Varma. She had a small role in Games of Thrones, but a good one. There is this couple that lives next door. They are religious people. The wife is a vicar. These actors who portray them are phenomenal. Tommy, the next door neighbor, is played by Ewan Bremner. His wife, her name is Rebecca, and she's played by Eve Miles. They are terrific. The 4 actors in this show really are amazing. This show has really good writing, really good acting, and the characters are very interesting. I highly recommend the show. The first episode is more an introduction to the characters. There is a lot that goes on in the first episode, but it is more of an introduction. This series in itself is very heavy dialogue driven, and the dialogue is good. The writing is good. I do like it. It is different from other things Andrew Lincoln has done, namely The Walking Dead. He plays a character that's very different from Rick Grimes, yet he's also edging towards Rick Grimes. Rick started out more of a good guy. He tried to see the good in people. When he first met these walkers, he felt sorry for them. He wanted to pay tribute to them. He would look to see what their ID was, and he would talk about who these people were. Shane was the opposite. Shane was like, hey, we got to protect ourselves. We can't worry about other people. There is a similar parallel here in this show where his next door neighbor, Tommy, is more like Shane in the sense where there's something lurking underneath the surface that John senses, and he's kind of interested in it the way Rick was drawn to Shane the same way. So I do see a parallel here. But overall, John is a very different character from Rick Grimes. He's more meek, he's more passive outwardly in public. With his wife, he's able to stand his ground. But when it comes to confrontations with men, which happens quite a bit in the show, for some reason, John attracts violent men who are in his face. And we're not sure why that is. As it is, John feels pretty bad about himself. He's a stay-at-home dad. His wife works. She has a good job. I think she's a chef and she's writing a cookbook. But he stays home with the kids, basically. And he doesn't like it. He as much as told her that he feels he's not good at it. He's not the best father in the world. He has to work at it. He's not comfortable with it. So in some sense, I think he's a little emasculated. And he also has issues with confrontations with people, especially these aggressive men. We're going to see that unfold as we go through the episode. So we're going to get into it now. If you haven't seen the show and you want to see it, I would suggest you stop watching now so that you won't hear the spoilers. Also, I would suggest that you subscribe to my channel so you'll know when the next episode drops. You'll get an alert because I will be reviewing all 6 episodes. The episode starts out where John is at a playground with his son and his daughter. His son is on a swing, and John's like pushing him. And he starts speaking to a woman who's standing next to him, and she's pushing her daughter on the swing. She's saying how much she loves London, and he's saying, yeah, it's great. And then this kid comes out of nowhere, this bully kid, and he tries to take his son's swing away from him. John is like, hey, don't do that. The boy's father comes over. And he slaps his kid across the face really hard. And John is kind of shocked by it. He's like, what? The woman next to him starts yelling, how could you hit your child like that? I'm calling the police. This guy turns to John. He says, you should keep your wife in tow. John says, oh, I don't know her. She's not my wife. This guy goes over and he punches this poor woman in the nose. And she starts bleeding. John's saying, hey, come on, stop, don't do that. And the guy's not listening to him. And he ends up getting this poor woman on the ground, and he's just like kicking her in the stomach. John, in panic, grabs his child and he runs away, really in terror. Because first of all, this guy, the way he attacked this poor woman, You say, well, how come John didn't stop it? Well, that's the thing. Why didn't he stop it? You could say, well, he was protecting his children, but he ran with his kids out of that playground. He didn't even call the police. He felt so angry at himself afterwards. You could see he was really having a hard time with it. So then, 2 months later, they're in Scotland, living in a town called Coldwater. We can see he and his wife are having marital issues. She wants to get it on with him. She's very sexual. She wants to be with him, and he's not really that interested. Why doesn't he want to have sex with his wife? Why did he run away from the confrontation at the playground? There's obviously things going on with him that we don't quite understand yet. But we see that his wife desires him, but he doesn't seem to want to be with her. And his wife said, we're having dinner tonight with the next door neighbors. He said, who, the religious couple? She said, yes. He said, oh, do we really have to have dinner with them? She says, well, he invited us, we should go. And can you believe she's a vicar? And he said, oh, yeah, she's a vicar. They were like a little apprehensive about going because they're religious and they themselves are not religious. So they were talking about that they don't believe in religion. They don't go to church. They don't even believe in God. So they don't even feel comfortable having dinner with this couple, but they're invited, so they feel they should go. He said he has an appointment with a therapist, his first appointment. She says, well, you have to take the kids with you because I have to go to work. And he said, oh, come on, I can't take the kids to a therapy session. She says, well, you have no choice. You got to take them. John leaves the house with his kids, and the next door neighbor says, hey, John, you're having dinner with us tonight. And John says, yes. So he says, why don't you come over earlier and we can pray together? And John says, well, I don't think I can really do that right now. So he walks out to the car with his kids, and there's a dead rat on his driveway. His kid goes to pick up the rat, and John says, no, don't touch it. So the neighbor picks up the rat in his hands, and he's like, I'll dispose of it for you. He's smiling, and he's like a very friendly person. John gets in the car, and he says, oh. The neighbor initially seems like a really nice guy, and the actor is phenomenal. Ewan Bremner, phenomenal actor, phenomenal performance in this series. I really think he was amazing. We see John going to his therapy session. This is his first session with the therapist. The therapist, I guess John told him some stuff before they met. The therapist was like, so tell me why you left London. And John says, well, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about that. So then he asked him about his marriage, about his sex life. And John says, well, my wife wanted to have sex with me, but I'm really, I don't know, just not really into it right now. He doesn't really tell the therapist much. Therapist asked him, well, what about your mom? Maybe you want to talk about your mother? And he says, no, I'm not ready to talk about my mother. So we're given the impression that he had some hard childhood, something that maybe his mother was abusive or maybe she was very critical of him. We don't know yet. But what we do know is he is afraid of confrontations. They didn't really get into anything too deeply. Then over in the car on the way to see the therapist, John's kids were like yelling in the back and they were laughing, and John loses his patience with them. He's like, shut up. You could see John does not like being a full-time dad with them all day. But yet we don't know what John would rather be doing. We don't know what kind of schooling he has or education, if he would want to do any particular profession. We have no idea. Nothing is said about that. We just know that his job is to stay home and take care of the kids, and his wife is the breadwinner. So then John returns home, and his son is crying. He's not feeling well. John's wife comes home. She says, what's happening? The kid's burning up. We need some medicine for the kid. So she asked John to go to the store and buy some cough medicine and other kinds of medicine for the kids. So John does that. He goes to a convenience store, and while he's in there, somebody comes in. This guy, his name is Angus. He comes in the store, and he wants to buy beer, and he's not old enough to buy beer. The lady at the cash register is like, no, sorry, I can't sell that to you. You know I can't do that. So then he starts fighting with her and being belligerent. So John says, hey, man, why don't you cool it? Let it go. So he said to John, oh, you have a problem with me? Are you starting with me? And John says, no, I'm just saying if she said she can't do it, then let it go. And the guy says, no, I'm not going to let it go. And then the guy has a confrontation with John. And then John, of course, ends up leaving the store empty-handed. He didn't buy the cough medicine because the guy gave him a hard time. He says, well, if I can't buy beer, you can't have your cough medicine. So John just runs out. And the guy follows him, and John goes in his car and he locks the doors, and the guy is screaming at him, pounding on the glass, wanting to get in the door. And John is like really scared of this guy. And then John just drives off. But you could see how upset he is. You could see anger that he has inside of him, but yet he's so afraid to let it out. Then the scene switches. They're at their neighbor's house having dinner. John comes in and he sees that the neighbor Tommy is having a Bible group meeting, and there's 5 guys in there, and one of them is, I think, the head of the police there, and some other people. And Tommy is talking about serial killers. He's holding up these books that he's reading, Ted Bundy and all these different killers. And John's like watching this, thinking, what this is a Bible study group? What is this? Tommy's saying basically that through reading these books, he knows evil exists. So if evil exists, that must mean that goodness also exists. And this is why he believes in God so strongly. Because if evil is strong, good has to be strong too. That's his rationale. So then John comes in the room and he introduces John to all his friends there. And then all of a sudden, John's therapist comes into the room, and John's like, oh. And the therapist acts like he doesn't know him, of course. So the therapist is part of this group. And then after they all leave, John is sitting with his wife and Tommy's wife, and they're talking. John had seen a flyer while he was in that convenience store of a girl that was murdered many years ago. So he showed it to them. He said, is this true? They said, yeah, this girl was killed a long time ago. They never found the person that did it. And then basically their kid comes in. He's like a teenager, maybe 18 years old, 17, 18. And he comes in and they introduce him to them. And then he goes upstairs. Basically, this whole episode was basically an introduction to all the characters. The only thing that really happened was, it was eventful. Had both encounters with John. The kid goes upstairs. John's wife and Tommy's wife get very friendly, and they're talking and they're having a good time. John confided in Tommy what happened to him in London, because Tommy kind of said, look, I know you came here for a reason, right? You moved to Scotland for a reason. You didn't just come here for the hell of it. And he said, and I know you're in therapy because therapist said, oh, I have a new client. He was so excited. And you're the only new person who's moved into the area. So I know it's you. So John was like, oh, okay. So John ends up telling him what happened in London. And Tommy was very supportive of him. You're a good guy, John. You try to help today in the grocery store. You have a good heart. You're a good man. Let's pray together. So he gets John to pray with him. And afterwards, John does feel better. And he told his wife, he says, maybe we should go to church. And she said, what? They go home. They're in bed. They're laying in bed, John and his wife. And she says that she likes the wife, but she finds Tommy to be creepy. He said he likes Tommy. So then they were talking, and she started to express her own fears that she's not going to be able to cut it on this job, that maybe her book won't sell. And it's interesting, once she started doing that, John became interested in having sex with her. That's when they started to, engage. It's almost as if he does feel emasculated in some way. But when she showed her vulnerability, that she's afraid she's going to lose her job, he started to feel sexually attracted to her. It's very interesting. So as they're about to have sex, they hear a noise outside, and John goes downstairs to investigate. He's having these flashbacks of this guy Angus in the grocery store, and he's worried that guy is like trying to break in her. So then he sees it's his kid playing. John can't sleep. He decides he's going to go on a run. He likes to run. He likes to jog. So he's out in the middle of the night running in the forest somewhere. And lo and behold, he sees this guy Angus again. And this guy Angus accuses John of that he's following him. And John says, I don't know what you're talking about. And he attacks John. He starts beating John up. So John grabs a rock and he smashes this guy's face in with a rock. And then John runs out of the park. And you see him running, and he's got blood all over him, and he's crying. He's hysterical. He comes home, and Tommy sees him outside, and Tommy's like, John, what happened? So he told Tommy what happened, and he said, I think I killed him. And Tommy says, well, you don't know that. Tommy says, okay, look, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it. Go home. take a shower, relax, go to sleep. Don't say anything to anybody. I'll take care of it. And John's like, why are you helping me? Why are you doing this? He says, look, you're a good guy. I want to help you. Don't worry about it. Just go home. So that's what happens. John goes home. Tommy goes out and he finds this guy, Angus. And Angus is still alive. He's beaten badly, but he's still alive. And what does Tommy do? He kills him. Tommy strangles him. And he's enjoying it. And then after Angus is dead, Tommy looks up at the sky. He says, God, forgive me. Please help me with this. Angus is wearing a cross, takes off the cross. Angus lives in a trailer, and he burns the whole trailer down. So that's the way the episode ends. So what do we find out? We find out that this guy, Angus dies, not by John's hand, but by Tommy's hand. We find out that Tommy is a killer. And John just keeps having all these confrontations with men constantly. It's like he has a sign on him that says, provoke me, come after me, I'm weak. It's very bizarre. So anyway, it's the first episode. I did like it. It's an introduction to the characters, basically. You did have some stuff going on with the confrontations, and especially at the end where John he has to defend himself, and he beats the hell out of this guy with a rock. And these neighbors are creepy. They are very creepy. I mean, they're religious, yet Tommy killed somebody, and he's religious, right? So what's going on with these people? Anyway, that's the episode. I hope you get a chance to see it yourself. So make sure you subscribe. I will be reviewing the second episode soon.